the studio, all did it live. Who needs the cable news network when you got a guy on a cell phone? You know what I'm saying here? It's already 10:30? Oh my God, I am really late. Okay, Kyleigh Dakota, Aptitude Advancement. Good morning, happy Wednesday.
Yeah, good morning.
I forgot what day it was. We're already off to a rough start. So, Dakota, you had to fly in for this interview, huh?
Yeah, all the way from Los Angeles, California, all the way.
How long's that flight?
Oh, about 3.5 hours. It's not too bad.
Really cool. So, Kyleigh, you and I were talking a couple weeks. Kyleigh and I happen to be related.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
we are.
I'm very sorry. No, but we were talking, and this was something that I saw on your Facebook a couple of months ago, Aptitude Advancement. But you know what? The floor is yours, Senator.
Awesome.
Ters, fill us in.
Awesome. So, kind of started this probably 13 years ago. I have over 13 years of experience in corporate talent development, and people just started reaching out to me. Can you help me with my resume? Can you help me with interview coaching? Can you help me with LinkedIn, etc.? And I have done it forever, and then I thought to myself, maybe I could turn this into something. And then along comes Dakota. I met him through his mom, and he is a world traveler, and so I started following all of his travel stuff on Facebook. And then he started posting about college admissions information, and I just thought to myself, maybe we could do this together. And that's how it started.
Well, this is really cool because, we always talk about, professional advancement and placement, and we talk about employment, but we never really talk about the core foundation of that, and that's having a great college experience that's backed by wonderful institutions and goals that are being obtained, or that are obtainable and are obtained, and having somebody to kind of spearhead that is what so many people need because hell, with my dad, I know had all this, college experience around me, but it was still nerve-wracking because I didn't know what test I needed to take for here or if I needed this to qualify for my athletic scholarship or who I needed to send the letter to anyway. There's a lot of ins and outs that are really just kind of in the gray area for so many folks.
Yeah, and I would definitely say, like, parents of high schoolers, Dakota is the man for that because he definitely can own it.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, that's perfect. And Dakota, take me through your work in that regard.
Yeah, of course. So my story with, I don't have as much, years as Kyleigh on me, obviously. But, it started with a deep passion, when I went through the process myself, and I went through it in the dark. I was up till 2, 3 in the morning looking at YouTube videos trying to figure it out. And that, really made a passion to me. It's like, what if I take this and help other people do this? Because there are a lot of people like myself. I'm a first-generation college student, which makes me very unique. My parents didn't go to college. Neither of them did. So I was on this process on my own, taking advantage of the resources that my high school had, which was very limited, and then taking advantage of the resources I could find online. So I said, well, I'm going to take this knowledge and, really fine-tune it so I can help other people do the process better than I did and make it more fine-tuned because it's an incredibly stressful process for these high school juniors and seniors that are going through it. It's time-consuming. It's almost like a full-time job, so for sure.
Well, and I can see why the partnership worked out, Kyleigh. That's a pretty good fit.
Well, yeah, because,
you lived it.
Yeah,
you lived
absolutely.
it. And, that's a great point about being a first-time college student for your family. There's so many individuals right now that are the first ever college student in their family, and they're starting on unknown waters.
Absolutely.
That Dakota and Aptitude Advancement, Kyleigh can help you with.
Absolutely. And we're in a it's a time where more people are going to college than ever.
Yeah.
And, with digital things like the Common Application, the Coalition Application, more people are applying, and things are getting more selective, especially if you're looking for these elite schools. And those are the students that I mostly work with, but, I've worked with people of, all abilities and all levels and all goals. But, it's no better time now to hire a college admissions counselor as, schools like Harvard, Yale, WashU, St. Louis, or any of these major, T25 schools, our selective rates are below 10, admission rates are below 10% to help you navigate those difficulties.
Well, and now that's a really good point, too, because we're talking about, when I think of college, I'm talking, SIUE, I'm talking McKendree, but, we always sell ourselves short so many times because we think it's unobtainable. We don't think there's any point of even sending that email. But how important is it to really try to, go and explore those avenues with the help of somebody who's able to, take you down that road?
Absolutely. And I think it's incredibly important in so many students that I've said, well, they sell themselves short, like, oh, I'm not good enough. It's that imposter syndrome that really comes out.
Yep.
And I've worked with numerous students, either in Southern Illinois, but also in the organization I work with in called 826 LA. That's where I got my pro bono start over there. And these are lower income students coming from normally they're BIPOC, so people of color and stuff like that we're working with, and they're oftentimes, well, I'm the first generation college student like me, different background, but then they're also coming from they're coming from the background where they don't have all that experience, and they're like, this isn't me. My parents, didn't go to college, this or that. I can relate to that. So I go, you have the GPA, you have the test scores, don't sell yourself short. So we sit down, we write that application, we pull out all those strengths, and, we send it off, and we've had great success. We had someone get into Cornell this year, had someone get into Dartmouth. These are Ivy League schools. So that's a big deal. And that's, a great record to have, myself as well. I've gone through that process successfully, and I was very happy to help them as well.
That's just absolutely wonderful. And, Kyleigh, how does the whole process start with Aptitude Advancement? Does it start with, a conversation that might be 5 or 10 minutes and then a little bit more of a consultation? What's your process like?
Absolutely. So, yes, it definitely starts with like an identifying conversation. See where the individual's needs and wants are, what they're seeking from the career placement side. I mean, I've worked with individuals that are high school graduates that did not go to college, but they're looking to better themselves, all the way up to executives that are trying to, find a new career path and kind of realign with what they're looking for.
Mm-hmm. And now with that, is that where kind of the partnership comes into play? Do you work with those professionals that want to find that new career path in this kind of dynamic?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And, Dakota and I have really worked together and kind of developed our mission and, the individuals that we'd like to work with, who we want to cater to, who our target audience is, etc. And I feel like, as I stated, I'm kind of working with high schoolers all the way up to executives and helping them redefine their career path.
Does it change when you work from, does it matter the age or the situation when in your process, and how you go about it? Because to me, and I don't know, Jack about this compared to both of you, but just from my thoughts, I mean, even though, situations might be different, the overall goal and those same, that same formula is probably still being implemented for them as well. Is that kind of true?
That is true. And I've also done some pro bono work.
Okay.
And I work with an organization called VP MMA. It focuses, and actually I got Dakota on to that organization
Wonderful.
as well. And it focuses on veterans, active duty service members, and military spouses, and realigning them kind of into the workforce outside of military exposure. And then I also have helped some sober living houses with their individuals that live there, trying to get back on their feet and helping them sharpen their resumes, work on them with interview skills, etc. So giving back is extremely important to me. But, I definitely have a lot of exposure to a lot of different types of individuals.
And now, how does the process start? What's the kind of, when I'm calling you, what do I expect? Is it a charge by service, or is it an hourly rate? How does that kind of come into play?
So we both have hourly rates,
Okay.
but we have packages.
Okay.
And so for both of us, I would say we kind of tailor the need of the package to the individual, because somebody might just need a resume proofread and something as simple as that. But then another individual is seeking mentorship and interview coaching and the ins and outs of kind of catering their resume to tailor the exact job that they're applying for.
Well, and now whenever we're talking about, just those conversations too, because we're talking about just different, when you're applying to different schools and you're applying to different facets, what are some of the things that we have to worry about? If I'm someone a senior in high school and I want to be, a microbiologist, and I'm looking at these schools, is the admission process ever different whenever you're knowing your specialty, or is it all the same that first kind of 2-year process?
It depends on ultimately the schools that you want to go to.
Okay.
You know, if we're looking at someone that wants to go to a state school and they're in state, that process is going to be, I don't want to say easier, but it's going to be, it might, and I don't even want to say less stressful, because, you know, each and every situation is different, and I'm not going to, you know, cheapen anyone's experience.
Right.
But, you know, the workload that you might have to do for, you know, let's say you want to go up to UChicago, you know, just work with a student this year that wanted to go there, and in biology, you know, and that process is longer. There's more essays and all that. So that's what we're looking at.
Yep.
And, you know, we start that process early, you know, and like Kyleigh was mentioning, we offer packages. You know, something that I do is I have a August 1st to May 1st package. And that's, you know, by far the most popular service that I've done. And, you know, we start August 1st when applications open, and we will work through that whole process. We'll refine your college list. We will say, hey, these are the supplemental essays, not only for the Common or Coalition app, which is, you know, the most common that everyone writes, but also the individual supplements. So up in UChicago, they have the Uncommon essays, what they call it, they're famous for, or they have their, you know, why this school essay, you know, and we're looking at each and every one of those, and I'm spending, you know, 30 minutes an hour looking at each one of these essays and saying, hey, this is cliche, let's reword this, or let's rework this so you can stand out and really find your niche so you're an applicable person. Because it's kind of like they're casting a show, these colleges.
Yeah.
You know, it's no longer, hey, you're well-rounded. That doesn't work anymore.
No.
It's finding that niche. This is who I am. This is, you know, what I do, and this is what I want to do, and this is how I can help you and your institution, you know, better themselves, climb up in the rankings. That's what it's all about.
You guys got a moment to stick around?
Yeah.
We got to pay a quick bill, but we'll come back with more of our daily show. A little bit of an extended show today. We're going to push this past the 11 o'clock hour because we still got more guests and we still got to learn more about Aptitude Advancement. You stay there. We'll stay here, right here on RiverBender.com and on Roku TV.
Since 1993, Sparks Junk Removal is always adapting to the needs of our clients. That is why we now offer weekly trash pickup for selected areas. Plus, we offer driveway-safe rubber-tired dumpster rental. Give us a call today at 618-781-1407 or visit us at sparksjunkremoval.net.
Macias Insurance Agency, providing quality products with extremely competitive prices. As an independent provider, we source multiple companies to offer the best rates possible, covering auto, home, business, and life insurance. Our goal is to provide quality service that meets and exceeds customer expectations. You can rest easy knowing the Macias team is working round the clock to ensure that both you and the most important parts of your life are covered. Our qualified professionals make the insurance process easy so you can live carefree and focus on what matters most. Visit MaciasInsuranceAgency.com today to find out what our team can do for you.
Not sure if you've noticed, but those advertised prices from the other dealers are just a bunch of blah, blah, blah. At Roberts Motors, the advertised price is the price you pay. And that, my friend, is great news for you. Don't fall for their so-called incentives that will leave you banging your head against the wall. Go with Roberts Motors. Prices you can trust and people you will like. That's the Roberts Motors way. And trust me, it's the way to go.
Has free checking become a thing of the past? Not if Liberty has anything to say about it. With 3 free personal checking options and even a free business checking account, Free is alive and well at Liberty Bank, the local bank that gives you free checking choices and more cashing in your pocket. Bank locally, bank Liberty. For more information, visit www.bankliberty.com.
RiverBender Radio has built 3 great new stations just for you in the Riverbend. The Eagle, the Riverbend's classic rock station. The Bridge, hit music for the Riverbend. And The River, today's country, and all your favorites. Check them out today at RiverBenderRadio.com.
Welcome back to our daily show. Here's CJ.
Some Bee Gees on a Wednesday. It's rainy. It's some crying music. So, Kyleigh, we're coming back and talking all things Aptitude Advancement. When we're talking about the college graduate side of things, which is where really the partnership comes into play, take me through some of the ins and outs, some of the common concerns that are dealt with whenever you have a college graduate and what comes into play.
For sure. So I can speak from personal experience because I went to a really small university for my undergraduate degree, and then I furthered and got a graduate degree. And when I graduated, they kind of just sent me free and didn't
Here you
really,
go.
good luck. Didn't help me with any sort of career support, interview building, etc. Yes, we took lots of courses on that, but there was not assistance. And so I've actually connected with a lot of college grads that feel the exact same way, and we are working on placement. Like for instance, I talked to your sister about her graduating and looking for a new career, etc. So we're really here to support that demographic, but I don't want to isolate myself just into college because I have a lot of experience and exposure kind of all over the place, even high school grads that are looking for, more permanent full-time positions. But definitely the sky is the limit on what I can do and how I can help. And,
Good.
We've been getting a lot of reviews out there, and we're super stoked about that. So
Just keep kicking ass. I
Yeah.
like that. And then Dakota, as we come back, just a little bit more for maybe some of the packages that you offer, especially when it comes to the high school students, and we'll go back to both of your options too, and just how Aptitude Advancement does it. If a parent calls right now, you mentioned the August to May package. What's that kind of look like?
So it's going to start with an initial consultation, and that's complimentary for you if you want to do that. There's a rebate on that. So we'll sit down and we're going to talk about your goals. That's the first thing, and see, what are you looking for, where you want to go, and what are you possibly thinking about majoring in, so we can tailor your application to that. Then those next initial meetings, we're going to sit down and make that college list. That's the most, really the first step is defining these are the schools I'm going to apply to. And when you're applying to these, particularly elite institutions, the people that I've worked with, you're talking 20 to 30 schools. So I'm looking like, hey, can we get you a fee waiver here? Are you a first gen? I can get you a fee waiver here. We can save you some money because there's thousands of dollars in application fees you could be spending. And that's the niche knowledge that, comes with my experience. I'm 3-4 years into this now. So I was like, hey, this school has this fee waiver. I can pull that in here. Or I know like this person in admissions up there. Let's talk with them. And get you, an interview there. Or I know this person that's alumni. We have a large network, and that's one thing great about that. But then beyond that, then we're going to start writing those essays. And I sit down, we make a list of these are all the supplemental essays that we need you to work on and write, and we're going to support you through that process. Like, hey, come up with idea, topics for each of these essays that are not cliche. Working with people, because there's so many topics that people might think like, oh, my grandmother's my role model, this or that. Quite frankly, these schools want to admit grandma and not you.
Right.
So those are the, and those are the things that we're trying to avoid to give you that strongest application that people might not think of right off the top of their head, or that, oh, my parents went to college, I don't need a college admissions officer or a resume coach. Well, things have changed. This isn't 1995. Harvard isn't admitting 12, 15% of people. They're admitting 1%, 2%. So that's the difference, that we have to make your application as strong as possible. So this whole package goes straight through it. So by the time we've written your essays, we're sending out these applications. But then, hey, if you're applying it early and you get, let's say, deferred or you get waitlisted, I also offer that support. So we're doing what they call a letter of continued interest. We're drafting that, showing that, hey, I'm a strong candidate. I want to go to your school and this or that. And all these things that we do for these elite institutions are also applicable for any school around here, particularly when it comes to getting those scholarships that make college more affordable. College is more expensive than ever, and that's really important. Is, hey, how the heck am I going to pay for this? Or so we don't get into crippling student loan debt, and that's our job.
Absolutely,
for sure.
That's a wonderful point. And then as we go back to you, Kyleigh, real quick, we have about 2 minutes left. If someone calls you, whether or not they're a high school student, or maybe they've been an executive for 15 years and they just aren't happy, and whether or not it's maybe finding a new job because we're 45 and college probably isn't for us, or maybe just finding those resources, take me through your packages that you offer, if they're any different than Dakota's, and how you can help them in that regard too.
For sure. So definitely starts with that consultation. I have to get to know you. If you currently have a resume, even if it's outdated, send it. I ask for people to send it to me just so I can kind of dig in and get to know the individual. And then I go myself and put pen to paper, and I go out and I research, current job postings of something that is affiliated with the individual and what they're currently doing, what they've done in the past, and then I go out and I cater their new developed item that they're going to be submitting to possible companies to really strive and drive their strengths. Because one thing that I will tell you is you could sit here and say, oh, I don't have any people management experience, but I want to be at a manager level. Well, we can find people management experience somewhere in your life and then cater it, towards the individual job posting. Yeah. And then within the interview coaching, I'm extremely present on LinkedIn. I help individuals rebrand and send out connections, really broaden their network. And that's how you truly find employment is LinkedIn. It's the bread and butter of employment these days.
Or you can just go to RiverBender.com/employment and find the jobs there. But just saying, just wanted to throw that out there. But in all seriousness, what's the best way to stay up to date with all the things you're working on?
So we're currently developing our website. We're almost completed. Within the website, there will be online booking. Our calendars will be available, etc. But definitely heavily involved on Facebook currently. We do have a Google page, so you can Google us and it'll pop up. And once we have that website, it'll all be linked there. But definitely check us out on Facebook, Instagram. We also have a LinkedIn page. We're trying to be very active and really connect with a lot of individuals.
Well, I'm excited to keep learning more and more about this. Thank you all for your time today, and the best of luck going forward.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
We'll take a quick break at 10:50. Just Right Organizing joins us next as we continue this extended daily show on the 3rd day of July right here on RiverBender.com.